All right, so some of the takeaways from today's seminar is that we're trying to set realistic job search expectations, and also we want you to not only strategize and to optimize your job search strategies, but also to understand the various online application system strategies, what to do before you begin the process, as well as understanding the full scope of how much it takes to engage in a successful job search, and also how to gain inside information from your network as well as additional helpful resources. This seminar is both going to be in person and as well online, so I will be checking the chat box periodically for online questions. All right, so the person is asking themselves, I've done everything I'm supposed to do online and I still don't have a job. I've searched the job boards, sent my resume, updated my LinkedIn, researched employers. What am I doing wrong? The short answer is probably that you're not doing anything wrong. Generally, what's out of whack is possibly our perception of what the internet can and can't do. This technology is one of the single most effective ways to find employment opportunities ever devised, but it takes time to work. The internet is just some genie that you can grant a dream job in the blink of an eye. Nor is it a magic carpet that you can carry off to a more satisfying career, even though we all wish it was. No, the web, for all its reach and its various power, is bound by the pace of what we do with it, and at the end, the employers and recruiters who use it to find new talent. So really the key into using the web to your advantage is first to manage your expectations. You can do everything right on the web, and it will still probably take time to connect with the right employer that is a match for you. There will always be exceptions to that rule, of course. Individuals can go online one day and get a great new job the next, but for most of us, it's going to be an arduous and difficult task. And as the saying goes, finding a new job, at least one that you want to work in, is the hardest job you'll ever have, and the web doesn't necessarily change that. So, expectations. So the most important thing to consider is that competition is stiff no matter what your field. It takes 3 to 6 months of active job search to land a job. So really, when we say a job search is a full-time job within itself, it requires you to research, write, analyze, build relationships, as well as communicate. So, and also you have to maintain your poise as well as your confidence in this process. On average, online application numbers, as you can see from the bottom of the pyramid base, there's 1,000 views of online job postings, and then that kind of peaks into 200 that actually start the application, 100 that are actually jumping through all the hoops, all the different questions, uploading all the forms, and then from there only 4 will potentially get interviewed and 1 hired. So you can just see from the number here how that can be kind of disinviting and maybe disengaging to some. So the job search mindset. First of all, you need to make sure that you're positive and up for the challenge. You need to kind of mentally prepare yourself that, as I mentioned, this is going to be a full-time job in itself. And if you're going to be all about a full-time job, that takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and a lot of strategizing. So it's really important to be willing to use a variety of strategies and to put in the work that's required. When they say, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, then that's really how your job search will be. You're going to get into it what you put out. Or excuse me, yes. All right, so understand the power of optimal location. So it's really important to do your research and find out what is the demand for careers and jobs in your area of interest, your industry, what is the unemployment rate, potential job growth, but most of all, the standard of living. So obviously what you're going to pay in Springfield for an apartment downtown is going to be very different than what you would in Chicago or say San Francisco in terms of standard of living and the cost of everything. So helpful resources to consider are ONET, Career One Stop, Glassdoor.com, going global, as well as joining different professional organizations and associations. And we'll be highlighting some of these in a little bit. I'm just going to look to see if anyone currently has any questions. All right, so as we're talking about, this actual presentation is job search strategies beyond job boards. But it's also important to know, as I mentioned, that you want to approach your job search from multiple angles, but job boards can also be a favorable asset. So some favorite job boards that some people like, a big one is Indeed.com, Career Builder, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Simply Hired, and for those in IT, Dice is also a very large job board. So finding opportunities on job boards. Different types have different strategies. First of all, many are free and they have different niche boards that you can utilize. For example, Indeed has a job crawler. You can pull jobs from other job boards and job sites. One of the things that I'm going to introduce to you is called Career Connect, that also pulls from a lot of different crawlers itself. You can also purchase higher access boards in terms of going global or Career Connect, and then professional associations. Sometimes you can join at a low rate for like a student and also find inside information in terms of mentoring as well as tips for new things coming down the pike in terms of technology, strategies, and other things from those professionals who are seasoned already in the field of interest. So different strategies to consider. You probably want to narrow down your scope and select two main job boards to use, one large and one niche. One of the things I think is very helpful is to set up different search agents, because then when it has something of interest, you will receive automatic replies either once a week or however you set up your search. You want to make sure that you check out niche boards located on Career Pathfinder. That's something that we offer in terms of our website that I'll show you, as well as use National Job Search crawler on Career Connect. So when using job boards, it's really important to make sure that you're utilizing your time effectively. So I'm going to show you how to use the advanced search. It's a great way for you to narrow down the many job postings on a board, and also to make sure that you're engaging by keyword, level of experience, a particular company, and more. And also to help you find those that are a good fit. So right now we're going to go ahead and go to our main website for the UIS Career Development Center. Hopefully those of you who are active students or who are recent graduates, you are utilizing and accessing your Career Connect account. So what you have to do is go to our main website at uis.edu/career, and underneath Career Connect here, click on Login for Students, Find Jobs and Internships. For those of you who may not have a username, which should be your net ID, the first part of your UIS webmail, without the @uis.edu. You'll have to go here and to create a password. I'm going to go ahead and log in now. So this pulls up what we call your Career Connect homepage. And so to be able to utilize some of the different resources, we're going to go ahead and focus on the job search. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, you can click on Jobs and Internships. And then from here, you'll see a drop-down list that will have Career Development Center postings and Extended Job Search. So let's say, for example, we're using the Extended Job Search. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of pull up and use maybe a data analyst position. And maybe I'm interested in possibly moving to Chicago. So the most important thing when you're using the extended job search is to utilize the one that has the largest number. And then from here, we're going to do a search. So I actually think this is beneficial for a couple different ways. It's for you to identify companies as well as different listings, but also as you're preparing your resume, it's also a great gauge for you to look for keywords and to compare and contrast against your resume. So maybe, for example, I'm interested in this reference data analyst position with cybercoders. So as you can see from here, it says what you need to do for this position. I'm going to utilize this at a later time, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of this information. But all of these things provide key skills and other things that are going to be very pertinent for how you want to tailor your document to show what are they looking for and then how you match up. And then also different resources that you can utilize within Career Connect. You can come down here and use Optimal Resume. This focus of this seminar is not on professional documents, but this is something you also have access to as a part of Career Connect, is utilizing the resume builder. So if you're trying to build up a master resume and tailor it towards specific keywords, I'm just going to click here and provide some examples. You can come down here to categories and go to computer and mathematical section. And then from here, maybe, for example, you are wanting to be a computer programmer and you like this. So maybe you could use this specific example and tailor your experiences to it. So it provides you content as well as different stylizations. And that's what is really important about tailoring a professional document. So coming back up here to home, it also has different modules that you have available to you, such as a letter builder and then interview prep. So one of the things also in relation to your job search, sometimes you may have to do and develop networking letters. And as you can see from here, it has different types of networking letters and cover letter options. So if we're just looking at a networking letter, this is something that you might want to utilize one of these templates to formulate to reach out to maybe someone in your network or a cold reference or something like that. So this provides a lot of content and detail that can also be useful. Just going on and showing our other online tool resource, it's called Going Global. I know that a lot of our students that we engage with in person as well as online are international students. So one of the wonderful things that I really like Going Global for is the H-1B visa option. So if you are using this, I strongly suggest that you come in and watch the full video on how to search and utilize this function. But what you can do from here is to type in a specific maybe you're interested in being a database administrator, and then you're looking and open to all kinds of things. And so from here, what it pulls up is the job title, the occupation, the company, which can serve as a leads list for you, but also the different areas that things are available, and the wage or the salary. And also this is updated 4 times a quarter or a year. And so this can be a great leads list for you to develop for your job search and also understand what is the salary range for that different geographic area. But also you can use Going Global for its job search function. And say, for example, kind of playing off that data analyst. And then from here, you can see all the different jobs that are pulling up. As I mentioned, this can be a crawler, but also you want to diversify your job search in different ways. So this is something that you'll find very useful within Career Connect. See if there are any questions. In terms of, will you receive this presentation after the session? Yes, if you're interested, I can definitely send it to you. I am recording this session, so as long as the audio is good, I will be able to send you the recorded webinar. Let's see if there are any other questions. All right. So in terms of a company's online application system, challenges of ATS process. So one of the things to consider is that HR isn't necessarily utilizing people to review resumes anymore. They're using artificial intelligence or AI. And so another version of this is called ATS, which is an application tracking system. So one of the things to consider with the challenges of this is that it takes a lot of time, it's a lot of uncertainty, and it can be very exhausting. So I found this YouTube and I thought it's very helpful, and it kind of breaks down the stress and understanding of what it takes to engage in application tracking and how to be successful at it.
So, what happens to your resume after you click send? We'd like to believe it drops straight into the inbox of the hiring manager where it's immediately opened. What actually happens is far more circuitous. I'm Kat Miller. and this is Dice TV. Before the hiring manager sees your resume, it's probably been entered into a database where it's scanned for words that match the job description. If you haven't heard of it, it's called applicant tracking software. It's something like customer relations management software, but in this case, the customer base is built from job applicants. It's designed to reduce the hiring manager's time in sifting hundreds or even thousands of resumes down to a manageable few. Managers create a search algorithm to produce a first round of results. Then they can run a search against that subset to reduce the number still further. ATS does more than just deliver resumes that match specified criteria. It's used to help recruiters in all phases of the process, from storing applicant files to recording correspondence between them and an applicant. Understanding how ATS works can help your resume stand out. If you're still mailing hard copy resumes, be sure to keep them simple. Use a common font like Arial. Don't use bold or italics because the ATS's OCR software may skip it. So how do you stand out among the hundreds? Avoid putting text in boxes because some AT software ignores them. Though it's tempting to use a box to center your name and address, your perfect resume may get overlooked because the field for your name is left blank. For the same reason, don't slip your name and address in the header. Some packages skip the headers and footers entirely. Avoid odd spacing or making a graphic from your name because that can get skipped as well. Although you want to list all your credentials, such as MCP or PhD, don't put it next to your name. It can mess up the identification. Also, spell out your credentials. CCNA should be Certified Cisco Network Administrator. If PDFs are accepted, be sure that your document is searchable. A non-searchable document may as well be left blank. Finally, no gaming. In other words, don't play the system. Be careful about tricks like taking all the buzzwords from the job description and stuffing them with an invisible font. That runs the risk of getting you blacklisted. Yes, the software will respond to buzzwords, but it can just as easily check resumes that are loaded with them. Once the recruiter sees your resume, she may do a quick check for such tricks, and it's not worth it. I'm Kat Miller, and we now return you to your regular desktop.
So in terms of applicant tracking systems, it's all about the qualifications and fit. So how you want to consider is analyzing what the key knowledge, skills, and abilities are within a job posting, and then being able to take those from your background and to show how you're a good fit. So you're trying to consider how are you engaging with them in terms of creating a profile or a summary of qualifications, addressing the proper technical or media skills, and then also making sure that you're peppering and using the same verbiage that is being asked and utilized within the job posting. So from here, you want to really use all the keywords and skills, make sure that they match up well with the criteria, and the resume will generally be reviewed by a lower HR person, and this is just to determine the first round of interviews. It's really important. A lot of the different interviews that I engage with and that I see that students are getting are generally tiered now. Very common is what we have as a screening interview. Then it might go to a Skype interview. That's a secondary tier. And then finally, if they're still interested in you, you might do something in person with a team or an individual. So different strategies to consider. You want to study the job description and any available information. Make sure that you're mimicking the words and phrases in the job description. One of the most important things is not to use synonyms. You want to use the direct words that are from the application or the posting. Are you showcasing your strengths in an area that seems to be key? As I mentioned, you want to kind of formulate your sections in terms of how you're going to engage somebody. Generally, they look at something for 10 seconds to determine whether they're interested, and then they move on. And also, you want to connect what the company is looking for with what you have to offer. Remember that you are the product, and how are you going to showcase what you have in terms of key knowledge, skills, and abilities? So more strategies to get noticed when applying to different ATS systems is don't apply for things that you're not qualified for. As I mentioned, kind of going to the Advanced Search and Career Connect, it's really important to look for different jobs, but also to gauge, are you a match for at least 75% of what they're asking for? If not, you may want to consider going for a junior level position, or what can you do to build up some different skills to make yourself more of a fit. So you want to research exactly what the company expects before you complete the process. One of the things is that they're looking for not only the hard skills, but also are you matching up well with their mission, their vision, their values. And so studying the company website can be an asset. Also look for different articles about the company, research them. LinkedIn, also look for some of the people that are actually employed there and find out what they're doing and what are they about, that you can also show how you're a match. To receive a callback, make sure your content and experience match up to at least 90% of the qualifications. Generally, I use the 80-20 rule. If you can match up to about 80%, then that's generally a good cutoff. So first, to submit your application. Generally, when HR searches the ATS for potential candidates, they stop after they find what they're looking for. I don't know if anyone's ever heard the term purple squirrel, but generally when someone's developing a job description, they look for their ideal perfect candidate. And so it's very hard for everyone to match up to that perfect ideal of a job posting, but it's up to you to try to get as close to what they're trying to get as you can. So if your resume isn't there the first time in the search, odds are that they'll probably move on. So you want to make sure that you set up an alert. And so as I mentioned with those different search engines and other things, those are all very good things to do. And when you apply to the position, when it's first posted, it really increases your chance of possibly getting an interview. So in terms of different resume strategies, we've covered this a little bit, but it's very important for you to develop what we call a master resume. A master resume is everything and anything that you've ever done. I like to consider it like a big smorgasbord. You don't want to worry about how long it is, but as you find something that you like or you're trying to tailor, then you can pull from that master resume to develop a tailored document focusing on the keywords per an individual job posting. And really, this is something that you have to take the time and energy to do to match up and get past these ATS keywords. So something that I think is very useful is something it's called JobScan. And I'm just going to pull this up for everyone to see. So if you just go to JobScan or Google it, this is a wonderful thing that I found. So what you have to do, I copied that job posting earlier. I'm just going to drop that in here. And then I'm just going to type up maybe some of this. So one of the things it's looking for is maybe I'm going to say I have my master's in data analytics. And I worked for ABC company. And one of the things that they're looking for is that I've worked with metadata and business solutions and intelligence. So what you can do from here is scroll down and it'll scan what your resume is before what you have. So let me see if I can add a little bit more here. And it will recognize it. But generally, you're going to drop in your resume and then also paste in the job description, and it will pull exactly like what from you have, and this is what it looks. It'll give you a match rate. And then from here, it breaks things down for you in terms of maybe key skills and words that you're missing, educational match. And so all of this can be very useful in terms of word count, but also developing different things related to keyword and skill comparisons. So this is something that I strongly encourage people to utilize. So when people are texting me, wanting me to look at their resume and they send me the job posting, this is where I'm starting to send people, because you can just as easily drop in and copy your resume versus the job description, and then it gives you all these wonderful filters that you can utilize yourself. And so one of the things to develop your resume and match up to the job description. It's kind of a skill just like interviewing. The more that you do it, the better you get at identifying and then tailoring your documents. So JobScan is a wonderful resource. All right, so submitting your resume multiple times via an application tracking system. One of the things to remember is that the more that you apply, it can stand out to a company and you can be what's considered blacklisted, or a lot of times when people are applying for all kinds of different jobs, it can show desperation, or maybe that you're not being strategic or you don't know who or what you want. Applications need to think twice before they apply to every job, because sometimes it can also lead to them thinking you might be a spammer. All right, so cover letters. Cover letters are something to consider. Are they still important? This is the question to consider for some, and it also varies via people in HR. It can be used to showcase your personality, your qualifications, and also it's a great tool to show that you can communicate effectively as well as concisely. So you want to make sure that you write one specific experience to show how you're able to address something within the job posting, maybe if you're thinking about relocating, and sharing some additional information in terms of just more of a story. This is a way for you to do this within a cover letter, or sometimes they have text boxes for this. You want to make sure that you avoid sending out generic run-of-the-mill cover letters, because once again, it's really to tailor how you're a fit for something and to get them to read your resume. So it's not necessarily required, but if they have an empty text box, you can definitely utilize it to maybe make yourself stand out a little bit more. All right, so applying online is just the beginning. After you apply, you want to also next identify people in your network who currently work at a company or may have connections. Because a lot of times, one of the things that we're going to move on to is that over 80% of the jobs that are out there are never posted on a job board or a system or other things like that. You make connections through those that you know. You can also use LinkedIn to build various connections with alumni. Because really also when you consider having connections within a company, it gives you insider information in terms of what are they currently working on, what's coming down the pike in terms of trends, products, services, what's something they look for in terms of their culture, their team fit. All of this can be provided for you that you can't necessarily get in terms of an online job board, or also they can provide an endorsement for you. So this is saying 85%. Once again, I kind of use the 80-20 rule, but it's very important to realize how important connecting and making sure that you hone those relationships with others, whether it be professionals and different mediums that you can engage with people. So the definition of networking reframed, it's not about trying to have 500 connections on LinkedIn per se. It's really about nurturing those relationships and following up. So if you connect with a few well-connected people that can vouch for your ability and to provide endorsements, that's much more satisfying and realistic, and sometimes stronger than having 500 people that don't even really know who you are and accept your connection. All right, so say yes to networking. How many of you know what informational interviewing is? Sir, do you know what informational interviewing is? So more or less, informational interviewing is when you reach out to someone and you say, I'm interested in this position. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Maybe your career path, your education. What would you suggest for someone new considering this field or this position? And really, it's asking about how did they get to where they are and what did they do to get there? And what would they suggest for someone new entering or who may be interested in the field? So if you think about making a connection with someone, it's much easier to approach it from this angle as opposed to, hey, I want a job. I need a job. Can you help me out? So it's really about how you're angling it. You want to say yes to being a resource or a volunteer to others. As I mentioned, when you're analyzing some of those job descriptions and you may not have all the skills, you can definitely get and build experience through all kinds of medium. Maybe you're looking to be a data analyst. Maybe you can do it for a club or a nonprofit organization to help them. You also want to say yes to professional associations. As I mentioned, getting a student membership for a professional organization and getting connections and mentoring can be a wonderful thing to consider, also as well as the price that you can benefit for an association at a lower cost. And finally, you want to say yes to reconnecting with alumni, family, and friends. As I mentioned earlier, it's all about who you know and those relevant connections, and even if it's 1 or 2 different people away from someone you know directly, it can be an asset for you. So the power of LinkedIn. How many people here have LinkedIn? Okay, so more than 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn as their primary search tool. It's one of the things that you want to definitely consider to be able to position yourself, maybe to find out more about organizational culture, as well as to follow and connect other people that are a part of a company, or maybe different groups that are kind of within your interest area. This is something that I found. For those that are students and alumni, you can actually go to LinkedIn. They have various tutorials for students. And so I just wanted to highlight this because one of the things is that we have a lot of students that are wanting us to help them to develop maybe their online profile or other things like that. And so this has all of these different direct tip sheets, as well as webinars that you can utilize to be able to find out how to find an internship, for example, build your profile. So I'm just going to pull up this one for an example. So as you can see from here, it kind of gives you what you should be doing for your photo, your headline, and then it also gives you various visuals that you can utilize. And so that's one of the things is that, as I mentioned when I started this seminar, is that the power of the internet is vast, but also you have to make sure that you're utilizing it and it's not a magic carpet. But it's also something that you can start to utilize and build and then come back and we'll be further along in the process for us to help you to develop something. So I'm just going to quickly kind of scroll down and you can see just how it breaks down the various things that you can have as a part of your LinkedIn profile and how you may want to set it up. All right, so please help me find a job. 5 steps to network and develop an outreach plan. First of all, it's really important for you to know who you are, what you're about, and what are you looking for. If you're not able to articulate who you are and what you want, that's why it's really important to develop that master resume. The more that you're doing things, you're doing the first half of the legwork, and you're going to be able to articulate that, whether it be in person or in an interview. And that's really what you want to consider your master resume to be. The whole purpose is to get an interview. So in terms of drafting your talking points, you want to understand that people are willing to help. It's just about you being ready and comfortable to ask. So that can be through LinkedIn. It can be with updating your resume, asking for references or referrals, but also just kind of developing a spiel about who you are and what are you looking for. And that can also be considered a little bit about your elevator pitch. Next, sending mass emails. So next, you want to make sure that you're developing and reaching out to all those people that maybe you haven't stayed connected to and kind of being able to ask for informational interviews. You're thinking about maybe launching or graduating. What would they suggest for someone considering this position, or do they have any new contacts or suggestions for you? So these are some different things to consider. Next, to send targeted emails. Maybe you have a dream company. Who do you know that's connected to that company? Or maybe look for the U of I Alumni Association through LinkedIn and find out, are there any alumni that are actually working at that company? Next, you want to make sure that you're being patient and then follow up and show gratitude. I think that that's one of the most relevant things in terms of business etiquette. When it comes down to you versus someone else, that can be the added push to get you an interview or to move forward in a connection. So here's just a little bit of a sample networking email. As I mentioned earlier, going into optimal resume under the letter builder, this is one of the things that you can utilize. Hi, Mr. Smith. I hope all is well. As you may know, I'm getting ready to graduate in May with my degree in computer science. Currently, I'm preparing for my job search. And then from here, you can describe a little bit about the position, maybe the geographic region, the job sector, and tell them a little bit about what you're looking for, and make sure that you try to use bullets to engage and to make your flow and content stand out. And then thank you in advance. I hope we can catch up sooner, and then just your name. The next thing is that it's very important to be comfortable utilizing technology to your advantage. These are just some of the things. Everybody uses their phone. So it's not just about using the internet or other things to be able to look for your job search. You want to make sure and consider using various apps. For example, there's Tinder for jobs such as Blanc, Jobber, and also there's Tinder for networking, which one that I looked up was Weave. Another one is Coffee, being able to connect with someone over like a cup of coffee, and how you're able to kind of make those connections. But applying for jobs through the phone, various platforms, it's becoming much more common to be professional while on the go and also engaging in different environments. You want to make sure that you're using resources such as Dropbox, Google Drive to be able to send your resume and to be able to have cover letters ready to go. Also, one of the things that I encourage people to do is to run the job description through a word cloud generator or maybe a word counter. And then once again, it's kind of similar to that job scan. It will give you a certain density of something that you can utilize to see how much those keywords are standing out. So this is something that I like a lot, especially if you're a visual person. This can be very useful, or as I mentioned, just finding out what the keywords are within a word counter. But as you utilize this more often, the better you're going to get with someone. All right, let me see if there are any questions at this point. All right, well, I've covered a lot of information, and so if anyone has anything that they would like to ask individually, one of the things I would like to encourage everyone to do is that you can also go into Career Connect and under shortcuts, go to schedule an appointment with my career counselor, and then you can set up a 30-minute individual career counseling appointment to focus on your job search or internship search. So the most important thing to take away from this is that you have a lot of different strategies available, and so you need to make sure that you're approaching your job search from multiple angles using various forms. LinkedIn, different job boards, also considering who's in your network and then using like the job scan feature to be able to tailor things, as well as things like going global and then the advanced option within Career Connect. So if no one else has any questions, I would just like to thank you for your time. And if this all goes well, I will send everyone the recording. Okay, have a wonderful afternoon. And once again, I'll just follow up to see if there are any other questions. Okay, everyone have a great day. Thank you.